What's up? What's up? This is Jonah. Dov couldn't be here with us tonight, so I'm sitting in the boss's chair, the big dog chair. So Dov, you watching this? I don't know. This looks like a pretty good spot for me. It's a good spot. But hey, this is the Push Weight Show.
And of course the courage in these veins, people passing the limits, a bunch of beasts broke off the chain. From the falsium growing and reaching up to pass our peak though. Welcome to the Push and Weight Show.
So man, one thing I wanted to get into tonight, with it just being me, was answer some questions that I feel like people always have when they're coming into the gym, or they'll reach out to me and kind of ask me these questions. And it's kind of basic things that we don't know are basic, right? Getting into whether you're brand new into lifting or have been in the gym but numbers seem to be stagnant, or you're hitting a plateau and you just don't know why. These are some of the questions that get asked to me, and then I'm going to address. So hopefully some of these questions and answers reach some people and can help apply to some bigger PRs. Now, I will say everything that I'm going to talk about tonight is everything that I have learned from my experience, from my past experience. I've been doing this since I was 14 in the gym at the YMCA, right? And then 15 when I started going down to West Side. And then just everything that I had learned from them, everything that I had learned from Louis personally, and then other greats down there. These are just things that I've seen, I've applied, have worked for me, have worked for others in my gym, but might not necessarily work for you. So everybody's different. That's always my disclaimer to people, is everybody's different. Whether they're coming to me and they're asking about diet, or they're asking about supplementation, everybody's different, even when it comes to form. Now, obviously, there's basics of form, that, the basics of feet placement. And when I say feet placement, I'm talking about rooting your feet, right? Bar placement on your chest, the bar path. Those are things that I feel like everybody should know before they get into trying to lift heavy weights. So when you're first starting, and the one thing that I'll start out on is bench press, because that is for basically 10 years, I was more or less a bench specialist, if you will. I didn't really squat or deadlift. I didn't like it. I didn't see the need in it, even though I was a defensive lineman. So it was very ignorant on my part to not try and excel in those things. But I was obviously a kid. I was worried about bench press, and that was the thing that I excelled at. So my senior year, I repped 315 for 10, benched 425 for a single before I graduated. I currently still have the 250 weight class Ohio high school bench press record at 385. Barely missed 405, but nonetheless I still missed, right? But those were some of my early accolades, if you will. I was 20 years old. I took the state Michigan record, like 425, I believe it was, or 420 for APF. I don't really care about that one personally. But then I took the juniors national record for APF. I benched 474 at 20 years old, and then about 2 weeks later in gym, I benched 500 paused. So after that, the rule was I wasn't allowed to get into gear. I wanted to get into gear. I wanted to get into a bench shirt. And I wasn't really, the guys that I trained with down there, they wouldn't allow me to until I hit 500 raw. So once I hit that 500 raw, they put me in a shirt. It took me quite a few months to get used to the shirt. And that's one thing that people don't understand when it comes to equipment, is it is very much so a learning curve. Very much so a learning curve. But in the gym, again, a 655 at 20 years old, and a single ply Rage X. That was my first shirt. And then I didn't get into a competition in bench shirt until 2019. I took like a 2-year hiatus off of the gym. I had some personal life issues, things going on, and just other opportunities that arose, and I kind of let the gym take the back burner, unfortunately. Excuse me. So, with that being said, my first meet was in equipment was September 2019, where I benched 670, and open powerlifting says it was 700, but I definitely missed that 700. So appreciate the accolade, but that's not how it happened. And then stopped training again. Had another child. Stopped training again after that, after COVID hit, and then started training late 2021 or early 2022, I believe it was. And then I'd say early 2022, started training again and started training full power. And then that's when I ended up squatting, February of 2023, squatted 744, benched 705, and deadlifted 606. And one thing that I learned is that as you incorporate squatting and deadlifting, your bench kind of takes a hit. It doesn't always have to. Obviously, there's people out there that don't have that issue or have hit that issue and learn how to overcome. And I'm still learning to do that. So, with that being said, that's enough about me and what I'm doing. But I do want you to know I laid that out there because I do want you to know that this is coming from. I'm definitely not an expert, but I'm definitely somebody who has a little bit of weight over his shoulders. And when I say a little bit of weight, I do mean that literally compared to what others have done and what others do around me. We're still getting there, right? So, with the bench press, some of the things that I wanted to go over is weaknesses in a bench press. But first, I want to go over the form of the bench press, right? So, again, I will tell you how I set up my guys. You're going to see a lot of different setups for people because, again, everybody's different. Like I have, like Big Dov, he only brings his feet back so much. As you guys saw in one of our previous episodes, he only brings his feet back so much because his hip flexors are so tight, right? But then you have guys like Andrew and myself where we're up kind of like on the ball of our foot, right? So if these are your toes here, and this is the ball of our foot, and this is our heel, we're about right here, okay? And what that does is that gives us the flexion to push our heel down, okay? Whereas with Dov being feet flat, right? with Dov's feet being flat, he has to push through his heel and through the floor, right? So if we're here, we have that flexion, right? See if you can see, we're pushing our heel to where it doesn't touch the ground, whereas Dov is pushing his heel through the floor. So to further explain that, right? So when you set up, I always have my guys set up with their head off of the bench, okay? They get their feet set where they're comfortable at, and then I have them grab the bar and move themselves forward, right? I have them move forward to where their head is back on the bench, and they're squeezing their back tight. They're squeezing their lats together, right? So when I tell them to root their feet, when they scoot back forward to bring their head on the bench, they're not leaving their feet. Their feet stay rooted like a tree, right? So they don't move. And now what that does is that creates tightness in the quad, as well as they should be squeezing their glute, and then therefore squeezing their back also, okay? So with that being the thing, what you're doing is you're creating an arch in your back, okay? Now what that arch does is that gets you closer to the bar, right? If you have a flat back, and when you try and bench, there's a couple things that are going to happen, right? When you come down, if you have a flat back, when you come down with the bar, one, you're going to have that forward rotation with your shoulders. Why? Because that's how far you have to go down on your chest. So naturally, your shoulder's going to have to come forward, right? How many people have you guys seen or heard or talked to back in the day or now where it's like, yeah, man, I used to bench press a truck, man. I used to bench press 400 pounds when I was in the 8th grade. But man, just my shoulder. It's my shoulder, you know. I hear that all the time. And I always go back to, well, they were probably benching wrong. Their form was probably crap. They were probably going off of what their high school football coach said. And 9 times out of 10, that's where a lot of guys learn their form. And 10 times out of 10, their coach is wrong. So bring them forward. Have them squeezing their glutes, squeezing their back. Now, when I say squeezing their back, I'm talking about their lats. What I always tell my people is to bring your lats together. So let go of the bar. Bring your lats together like you're trying to squeeze a pencil in between your shoulder blades, right? Squeeze that pencil in between your shoulder blades, and that is what's going to give you a tight back. Okay, once you bring that tight back and you're squeezing, then you grab the bar. Don't let go of that back, okay? Then you come out, wrists, gotta be straight, okay? Maybe a slight bend in it, right? But none of this, okay? You see a lot of guys where they bench like this. And what that's doing is it's taking it completely out of your tricep, right? You're not able to really flex your tricep when you're like this, okay? You're putting strain on your forearm, you're putting strain on your wrist. When things get heavy, it's not going to end up working for you because what you're essentially doing is putting a lot more pressure on your wrist than you are the actual muscle. So, strong wrist like you're punching the ceiling, okay? You got your chest up, your back tight, squeezing your glutes, squeezing your lats. You got your feet rooted in the ground, okay? When you come out, a lot of people will come out and they'll start here, okay? You see, right here is straight above the shoulder, okay? Again, we're back to that old guy that used to bench 400 pounds back in the day, right? This is why he's having a lot of shoulder pain also, because he's starting here. You can't help but flex your delts when you're doing this, right? So, bring it down and directly over where you're going to be hitting. And you're going to be hitting right below the nipple, okay? So you bring that down, and it's straight down. It's a straight path, straight down and straight up. Straight is the shortest path that you have. A lot of people, they'll start here, touch here, and then come back here. That's done. That's your longest path. You have a lot more time under tension when you're taking a longer path. More time under tension, or TUT, as you might see in magazines or other articles. All that time under tension is doing is making you push heavier weight or push heavy weight for a longer period of time, and that might sound good, but to be able to push the maximum amount of weight because you're not optimally using your form. Does that make sense? So get your form right so then you can maximally use every bit of strength. Bench is a compound lift. Squat, compound lift. Deadlift, compound lift. Meaning you're using your entire body. And that's where I think people always end up getting thrown off, is that they see that squat is a compound lift, they see that deadlift is a compound lift, but they don't see bench as a compound lift because you're only using your arms, right? Wrong. Again, so you come down, or you come out, back tight, okay? You're right above where you need to be, where you need to go straight up and down. As you come down, you're loading up your lats and you're loading up your heels. You're pushing that heel down. You're getting tight. You're pushing that heel down. You're pushing that heel down. As soon as you touch that chest, you push your heel down even harder and you push off of your lats and up into the triceps, right? So what that does, when you push into your feet, into your heels, what that's doing is it's taking your heels and it's pushing your shoulder blades into the bench, therefore away from the bar, right? So if you have weight over you and you're on a correct bench, then you're not going to slide on this bench. If you're on a commercial bench, you might slide. And if you are on a commercial bench and you have to train on a commercial bench, take a couple resistance bands, wrap them long ways around the bench, and that's going to help give you some grip, right? But with that weight over you in a correct bench, you're not going to move, it's going to dig in, okay? You're going to dig into that bench. And again, pushing that head back, don't raise your head up. Again, once people raise their head up, they're pulling forward, okay? Keep that head back, shoulders back, back tight, and you're pushing here. You're pushing completely away from the bar, okay? The harder you push away from the bar, the better, okay? Keep it in the track of your triceps, right? So from the bottom, from your chest to halfway up is your lats and your chest. From halfway up out to the top is your triceps. That's your lockout power, okay? There's a reason that we train triceps so much, so often, and so heavy, because that's your lockout power. That's 50% of your bench, if not more, right? You have to have a big back to do these things. I had just seen a post from Greg Panora, and it was a great point. He had said, I've seen a lot of weak guys with big legs, seen a lot of weak guys with big arms. I've never seen a weak guy with a big back, right? Because that posterior chain is more beneficial and more crucial to all of your lifts than people realize or people know. Louis told me when I was in high school, he came in, he said, how much back do you do? Not very much. He said, you need to double your back work as compared to anything else that you see in the mirror. So that's the problem with most high schoolers, with most people, is they train what they see in the mirror. So if you're looking at it in the mirror, you're talking abs, you're talking shoulders, you're talking chest, you're talking biceps, right? Those are quads. Those are the things that people are overtraining or training more often than not. When in all reality, your back, your triceps, your rear delts, your hamstrings, your glutes, your spinal erectors, those are the things that are actually making your lifts stronger. We had gotten a reverse hyper earlier this year, late last year, early this year, and that was the one thing in the gym that we were lacking in having equipment-wise. And we ended up having a member donate it, shout out secret member, and my squat went up 80 pounds in about 5, maybe 6 weeks, simply because of that machine. And that was because I wasn't able to train my posterior chain as well as I should have and could have, right? My spinal erectors weren't as strong as they needed to be to hold 700 plus pounds. My glutes, my hamstrings, my lower lumbar, all of those things were not strong enough because I didn't have the correct machineries or the correct machine. I did everything that I could, but I wasn't attacking it like I should have, right? You'll hear a lot of people really run away, and sometimes myself included. That's why it's a good reason to have such a support system in your gym and people that push you. A lot of people run away from the exercises that they hate, and the exercises that they hate are the ones that make them better. And I never understand it. Most of the times when I get in that, it's because of one excuse or the other excuse, because there's really no reason. They're just excuses, right? So, sorry, I went off on a rant there, but it's again back to posterior chain that you need to make your lifts increase, and that means bench included, right? Again, back to the back, your lats, your rear delts. Those are things that need to be strong if you want to have a big bench, okay? Stabilizer muscles, those things need to be strong if you want to have a big bench. If you're not stable when you bench, then you're going to be everywhere and you're not going to make the lift. You need to be stable, you need to be tight, you need to be strong in that position or you're not going to make the lift. That's why we always take a big deep breath before we bench, and we don't breathe. You're going to see a lot of people, some people might argue with me on this, but I know it works. I've seen it work. We take that big breath, and we're squeezing our abs, and we're pushing out, we're squeezing out, right? Flexing our abs, not in, right? We're squeezing out, and we're staying big, and we're holding that breath, because that breath is what is helping keep you tight. If you end up breathing through an exercise, say you have a set of 5 or a set of 10, okay, like bench press, right? And you're here, you got your back tight, everything's good. You start your rep, and then you start breathing, right? Look what just happened. Your whole diaphragm just moved with that, and then you're gonna try and get tight again. It's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. It's just not how your body works. So, especially underweight, you need to keep that tight the whole time. I've seen a lot of people be great in their 4, 5, 6th rep, and then on their way up, because they have to take that, they have to release their breath. They're running out of breath, right? And then those last 4, 3 reps are fucking hell, because they ended up losing their tightness. So if you have to take a breath in between, right, you wait till you're at the top. You press, you get to the top. That way, the only thing that you're losing when you let that breath go is your stomach and potentially just a little bit of your diaphragm, but you're keeping your back. You're able to keep your back, right? Back to triceps. So halfway up, chest, off your chest is your back and your chest. Halfway up is triceps. I tell a lot of my guys to spread the bar or bend the bar. That's one of the cues that we give when I see them giving out on their triceps, or the triceps giving out on them. And essentially what that's doing when I say bend the bar, I'm talking about act as if that bar is a broomstick, right? And you're trying to snap it. Okay, you're trying to bend the bar. You're trying to snap that broomstick in half, okay? That's one of the things that when you get to here, if you snap that bar, then you're going to be able to flex it into your triceps and out, okay? Or if I tell you to pull the bar, so like act like it's a gummy worm or whatever it is, right? Or a band, and you're trying to pull it apart. So you get to here, and then you pull it apart, right? You're trying to push out. Again, that's also going to put it into your triceps. That's your lockout power, okay? Is that's where your lockout is your triceps. If you're squeezing with your chest to lock out, you're more than likely going to end up getting hurt at some point down the road. That's not everybody. One of my mentors, my greatest mentor, was a big chest bencher, huge chest bencher. He had this great big massive barrel chest, but he learned that in a shirt, that's not where he was going to be able to get that power or that weight out of the shirt, was with his chest. It's just not how it works, right? Me personally, I know that my Achilles heel, if you will, is my pec minors. The few times that I've gotten out of rhythm on a heavy lift and I've pressed with my chest up at the top, I end up straining my pec minor and hurting my chest personally. So that's why I always never recommend squeezing with your chest when you get to the top, because me personally, I've only seen bad things happen with it. I haven't met a lot of chest benchers, but that's not to say that they're not out there, right? So let's go over some of the times that you can have a weak point in your bench, some of the things that might be happening personally with you in your bench press that you're getting frustrated with, you feel like it shouldn't be happening still, or it's a plateau. So if you're failing off of your chest, meaning you're not able to get it off of your chest, there's a couple things that could be happening, right? And that could be that you're letting the bar sink into your chest, and then you're trying to heave it off of you. I know a lot of good guys that have done that, but they were very experienced guys. And then eventually it didn't work for them, right? But if you're failing at your chest, you probably more than likely have a weak back. You need to do more back work, more lat work, get more meat underneath you, and you need to learn how to stay tight. One of the things that I had our guys do today, little trick of the trade, was I saw that we did bamboo bar, and a lot of these guys weren't staying tight in the bamboo bar movement with a lot of reps being in place, right? So what I ended up doing with them was one of our accessories was a static band hold, where we would take a band, wrap it around a pole, wrap it around the end of a rack or something, and then take a bar, like a lat pull down bar, and put it to where our hands would normally be on the bench, and then we would pull that back and get in the position that we're benching, right? So I kept telling the guys, imagine not that you're pulling this, right? But imagine that you're holding the bar, holding the bench bar on your chest, right? You're in that perfect position of just holding that bar right on your chest, okay? And that's creating the muscle, memory that you have to hold your back, and you have to hold your lats in that position. Learn how to squeeze, learn how to stay tight in your back, okay? So if you're failing off your chest, you have a weak back, weak chest, okay? Things to do for a stronger chest, pullovers, wide finish on incline bench press. A lot of times we at least do incline bench, whether it's for reps, 2 to 3 sets of 25 dumbbells, or we end up doing 5 sets of 5, right? But that's how we strengthen our chest, along with a few other exercises. And then if you're failing at your lockout or halfway up, so you're getting it off your chest, but you're getting to about right here, and you can't just finish it, right? That's your triceps, man. That's your triceps. You have to look at your wrists, look and see if your wrist is bent back. If your wrist is bent back, then there's no way of bending the bar for you. Screwed yourself there, right? So get that wrist right and push through and spread the bar, okay? Flex your triceps. What my mentor always told me was strong arms. You have to have strong effing arms. And lock that sucker out. Squeeze the bar. The harder you can squeeze that bar, and the harder you can lock out, and push out, and flex that tricep, the better chance you're going to have of getting that lift, right? And then I just wanted to touch on this hand placement. If you're competing, you have to be touching that power ring. If you're not competing, I guess it doesn't really matter. But if you want a legitimate bench, if you want to tell people a legitimate bench number, make sure your fingers, one of your fingers is at least touching that freaking power ring. The kind of rule of thumb is the closer in you are, the more tricep dominant you are. So if you have if you're very strong with triceps, move your hands in. If you have a strong chest, move your hands out a little bit. If you're a shirt bencher, the only thing I'm going to say about a shirt bench is that obviously the wider the grip, the better. But I'm not going to speak on a lot of shirt stuff tonight just because I'm still learning. That's something that when I get in my gear, I still very heavily rely on my guys that I've had this journey with and that have helped me along with this. I rely on them very heavily. So, but when it comes to raw, the closer in, the more tricep dominant. And then if you're shorter, closer in is going to be better. The biggest thing, I guess, is that, I had a kid come in. He's been in with us for about a week and a couple days now, maybe. And tall kid. And his coach had him, not even touching the power rings. He was, all the way in. And when you looked at him, his arm was like this. And I'm like, yo, move your daggone hand out. You're going to end up getting yourself hurt. You're so far in that your wrist is inside of your elbow, Move your hand out to where at least your wrist is in line with your elbow, right? So you have that power of pushing into your triceps. So if you're taller, move accordingly, the wider grip that you have, the shorter distance you have. And if you got long arms, the shorter the distance is the better option for you for heavier weight, right? One thing I wanted to touch on was speed work. Hold on real quick. Dov, I'm going to see if you got some waters in this little fridge. You can make me pay later. 1 second, guys. Man! Whose Diet Pepsi is that? Dog, we're going to have to talk about whose Diet Pepsi and pop and orange juice and all that stuff in there is, big bro. All right. Anyways, speed work. This is one of my favorite things, and I absolutely hate it at the same time. The reason behind speed work and the idea behind speed work is moving submaximal weight at maximum force, right? Force equals mass times acceleration, right? So what that means is we work in waves of 55, 60, and 65% plus 20 to 25% of accommodating resistance. Accommodating resistance is whether it's chains or bands, right? It's accommodating the resistance of the bar. When it comes to bands, what it's doing is it's making the bar come down faster than gravity intended it to be, right? Because the elasticity of it is bringing it down faster than gravity intended it to be. So you have to be able to handle that, have the stabilizer muscles for that, and be able to control that and still put it in the same position and spot every time. Excuse me. And then with chains, the way that chains work is you have a weight that as you descend, the weight decreases, and as you ascend, the weight increases. So it's forcing you to still move fast while the weight is gaining on the bar or in your hands. And that's the same thing with bench. It's not weight, it's tension. Same thing with bands. It's tension, and not weight. So there is a little bit of a difference. With bands, what I've found is it puts a lot more strain on your ligaments and tendons. So we don't really bench heavy with bands a lot. I feel like it teaches you how to strain, it teaches you how to grind, but with that, and novice lifters, it teaches them how to get hurt. So we don't really go heavy a lot on bands when it comes to max effort, but we use it for speed. Just about every time we do wave to where we have 1 week where we don't use bands at all, and it's just straight weight. And I find that to be good because you're learning how to control the weight with, just like in a competition, you're going to want to bring down that weight fast and controlled, so you're not taking up so much energy and in the descent, right? So speed work, like I said, we're taking a submaximal weight, whether it's 55, 60, 65% of your 1 rep max. We're doing that for 9 sets of 3. And now with so many people in our gym, we split up the groups. We'll have one group go first to where there's only about 4 people in the group, so it's very quick. The other 4 to 5 people are on the sides of the bars, and they're like a pit crew, right? They're switching out. But if it's just you and another guy, then it should be very easy for you guys to just go back and forth. Boom, 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 right? You want to look at about 30 to 45 seconds in between sets. So, I'm not the best math person, but with 9 sets of 3, 45 seconds in between. Oh, I wish my little brother was here. 9, 4, 2, 7. So you're looking at like round about 7 minutes that all of those around 7 minutes or so, that all 9 of those sets should be done. So the reason that we're doing this like this, right, is that one, it conditions you a little bit, a lot of it, because it's making you push weight very fast, and the volume workload within 7 minutes, right? There's a very high volume workload in 7 minutes. So for myself, I do 325, and we just won't even add in bands. So we'll just go bar weight. We'll say 325 for 9 sets of 3. So the way I'm doing this workload here, and when I say workload, volume workload, I'm adding up all the weight that I move in those 27 reps, right? So 325 times 27 reps. Oh my goodness, 325 times 27 reps. 87.75. Okay. Write that down real quick. So that's my volume workload. Okay. So at 325, 9 sets of 3, I will have moved 8,775 pounds in 7 minutes or less, or 8 minutes or less, right? That is a lot of weight to be moved in such little time, right? So that's obviously conditioning you and conditioning your body and your muscles and your ligaments and your tendons to be able to handle that amount of weight in that amount of time, right? That helps us get ready for meets. That helps us stay conditioned, and it's not as big a hit on the CNS as you would think, right? So the reason that we do this, let me get to the reason why we do speed work. Back to the time under tension, your body only having so much time to end up to do a lift, right? Your body only has so much time to actually do a lift and complete a lift. You can lift heavy every day, or once, twice a week, and you might get stronger off of that because you're training your CNS to take heavy weights, right? And they always say that the strongest guy is going to be the guy that can take the most weight every week. But you have to understand that your body is going to get slower. Your slow twitch muscles are going to not get worked doing that. So again, your time under tension is going to increase. It's going to get longer, and then your chances of completing that lift with that time with such a long time under tension is going to decrease. Your chances of making that lift are going to decrease. You only have so much time. Your body only gives you so much time to complete a lift before your body just gives out. Okay. What you're doing with the speed work is you're training your body to complete that lift with speed, with explosive power and explosiveness, with the strength in there, right? So let's put it like this. So say your max is 500 pounds, okay? We drop you down to 55%. So we'll just go 50% because it's an easier number for me. So 250 pounds. Say you take that 250 pounds and it takes you 3 seconds to move it, right? for one single rep. Okay, well, let's make fast twitch muscles. Let's train your fast twitch muscles to be able to move that 250 pounds in 1 second. Well, if you can move 250 pounds in 1 second, you're probably going to be able to move, what, 275, 285 in that 3 seconds again, right? Now let's say that you can move that 285 back to 1 second. You can move it in 1 second. That's fast. And the only way you're getting faster at it is by getting stronger, right? If it's heavy for you, then it's going to take you longer to lift it. If it's easier for you, and you're strong enough for it, then it's going to take you a shorter amount of time to lift it, right? So, obviously. So, say you take that 285 or that 300 now, right? And you're able to move it at 1 second. Okay, great. That means that 500 pounds that might have taken you 5 seconds to lift, you're going to be able to move that 500 pounds in 3 seconds. Well, if you move that 500 pounds in 3-4 seconds, right, then you're going to be able to move more weight. You're not using as much energy or time under tension to move that heavy of a weight. So you're going to be able to move more weight. Does that make sense? So we always train speed. I'm not going to say a lot of guys. I know a couple guys. Jimmy Kolb doesn't believe in speed. He does something else. He does something different. And that's what I went, from the very beginning of this video, the very beginning of this episode, everybody's different. Jimmy Kolb is one of the greatest benches of all time. Bench 1401. A buddy of mine, but he doesn't believe in speed. I believe in speed, and that's what works for him, and that's what works for me. Everybody's different, right? But time under tension is a real thing. For your average guy who's not benching 1,400 pounds, for your average guy, you have to train your CNS. You have to train your fast twitch muscles, because if you just keep lifting heavy and heavy and heavy and heavy and heavy, then your body's going to end up giving out on you, and you're not going to be able to get the lifts that you want. Okay. Couple more things here, and then I'm going to hop off. CNS, I've said CNS a couple times. I want to translate on that. That's your central nervous system. That's something that we definitely believe in training. We train that by the future method. That's where we take bands, we hang it around the top of our squat rack, or just any rack, and then let the bar hang in it, and it helps get weight off of your chest, but the weight is obviously a lot heavier, if not the real bar weight, up at the top. So, if the bands that you're using, we always use big bands, whether they're greens and purples, or just blue bands. You're looking at taking about 200 pounds, 225 pounds, 235 pounds off the bottom, right? So you get help handing it out. You lower that down to you, and say, your max again is 500, or say it's 400. Let's say it's 400. That's more common. Say your max is 400, but at the bottom, touching your chest, it's really only 200, right? Or less than that, because you've got that 225 pounds of band tension helping you in the bottom. But guess what? Now you're going to be able to put 600 pounds on the bar up at the top, right? Or 625, okay? And you're going to end up being able to push that 6 plates off of your chest, because you now at the bottom, at your chest, it's about 400 pounds or 375, right? But obviously, as you push, it's going to make you push harder, because the weight is increasing on you, right, as you go up. So it's training that CNS when you come out, when you have that, when you're holding that in the when you're holding that weight at the top, it's training your body, because your body's gonna go, yo, what the hell, man? Like, I ain't never felt this weight before in my hands. I ain't never felt this. And then as you press it and you're doing multiple reps with it, your body's CNS, central nervous system, is going to hopefully adapt to it. And then when you go to take a weight for your next max day, which would be in about 3 weeks or so, right? For your next max day, when you go to take out 425, it's not going to feel like the heaviest shit you've ever had in your hands, because a couple weeks ago your central nervous system was, shocked with 600 pounds, right? So I know a lot of people back in the day, they trained negatives. They did negatives. I know that was one of the things that my coaches, back in the day, you just take weight out, take big heavy weight out, and you bring it down as slow as you possibly can, even though you can't press it. That is such an easy way to get hurt, man. Such an easy way to get hurt. Looking back, it blows my mind at how we didn't have more hurt athletes from our lifting program, and the only reason or explanation that I can come up with that they didn't have a tremendous amount of hurt athletes is because most high school athletes aren't really putting a whole lot into their workout. They're looking at their coaches, and their coaches look like a bunch of slobs or some old ass men, and it looks like they haven't touched a weight in their life. And who would want to learn from somebody like that, right? I'm not saying I look good because I look like trash too. I'm just saying I look like I bench at least 315. But if you're gonna do negatives, don't go crazy with them. Don't be stupid with them. I'm just gonna say don't do them. It's stupid. It's a great way to get hurt. It's a great way to strain. I don't know if you guys ever saw that bodybuilder trying to incline bench 500 pounds of Larry Wheels like a year or two ago, and he brought that weight down so slow he ended up blowing his pec off. That's what's going to happen. More than likely, that's what's going to happen, because it's just not good for you. Moderate weight with it, that's not a bad thing. Super heavy weight with it to where you can't even remotely get it off your chest is terrible for you. So don't do that. Accessories, real quick. I'm going to touch on that real fast, and then I'm going to get out of here. And then diets also real quick. So training, your main accessory. Your main accessory should be the thing that you do right after your main exercise. And the reason that you're doing that main accessory is to directly help your main lift. So what is the one thing that you are struggling with, that your weakness is on your main lift? Pen it out. Find the worst freaking exercise that you can do for it, and that's what's going to make you better, right? But make sure that it is something that's completely beneficial to your main lift, okay? And then everything else with our following accessories is very hypertrophy, like 5 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12, 4 sets of 10, some are 4 sets of 8. That's when we're going a little bit heavier on some things, right? But we're training them like a bodybuilder. One of the things that I always get that kills me when I talk to people about coming and training with me is it's, well, yeah, man, yeah, I want to come out there, but I don't lift heavy like you guys. I don't lift heavy like you guys. And what they don't realize is, one, not everybody lifted heavy like they do now, or is lifting heavy like they do now. And the other thing is all they're seeing is the main lift. They're not noticing the 4, 5 exercises of 5 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12, 4 sets of 15, 4 sets of 10. They're not noticing or seeing all of those accessories that we're doing after. We very much so train like bodybuilders, but without the force through or help through those last reps, right? You always see where bodybuilders are, they've got 10 more, or they've got 5 more, and they ain't even really getting their last 3 up, but they still have 5 more, so their coach is helping them get there. You're not going to catch us doing that. So that's kind of the difference in bodybuilding that we do, that we train, but we are very much so training rep-wise like bodybuilders. So that always kills me when people say that. I don't lift heavy like you guys do. And you're never going to if you don't come out and try, right? And try the right way. But all of your following accessories should be something that's pertinent to your main lift, that's pertinent to building your base. I see a lot of people that try and build their roof before building their basement or building their floor. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's because your base is one of those things that's very tedious. It's very not fun. It's not glitz. It's not glamour, but it's the things that are going to make the big lifts big, right? And then diets. Don't ask me shit about diets, man. I'll tell you about keto. I don't know about glycogen. I don't know about caloric. I guess caloric deficits is pretty much the same. You're just not taking in as many calories, right? Calorie count and all that good stuff. But that's one thing that I'm not terrible at, but I need to do more knowledge. I need to do more digging in. I could definitely use more knowledge on that. But I always recommend keto: meat, eggs, cheese, and water. Again, it doesn't always work for everybody, but it's worked for a lot of people around me, myself included. Meat, eggs, cheese, and water always gives me the results that I need, and then that one cheat meal once a week is really what does the trick, right? If you're having troubles with your diet, you're having troubles with your lifts, let's check this out. If you're having troubles with your lifts, check your diet first. See if you're getting enough protein in. See if it's the right protein. You'd rather have food than a shake over when it comes to your protein, right? So if you're having troubles in your lifts, man, check your diet first. Check your form. See if everything's going right. Form-wise, technique-wise. And then look at how often and how much you're training your posterior chain, your back, your lats, your rear delts, traps. Traps are actually back muscle. People always think it's a shoulder muscle, it's a back muscle. And triceps, right? Glutes, hamstrings, calves, spinal erectors, all those things. Make sure looking at more back exercises, more posterior chain than more anterior chain. To me personally, I think it should be at least like 3 to 2, 3 posterior to 2 anterior. I'm not telling you to completely stop training everything that is anterior, meaning front, mirror. I'm not telling you to do that because obviously abs, core are a gigantic part of everything. Staying stable and having the strength to stand up. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying 9 times out of 10 your training is really lacking in the posterior chain, and if it is, that needs to change. So that's it for me, man. Next, I think Tuesday, so we're a couple days. Me and Don, we're gonna get on here. We're gonna talk about some conspiracy theories. I'll be cooking up about them. Trying to expand some things that we're going to be talking about, and then loop it back into training, right? But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'll help you the best that I can. If I don't have the answers, I'll tell you where to find them or where you can find them. you know, or who else to ask. I'm not one to think that I have all the answers, because I know for a fact I don't. And I'm definitely not afraid to ask questions when I don't know the answers, right? So hit me up on Instagram. I changed my Instagram handle, so now I gotta look. So my Instagram handle is Hensley, HENSLEY 7_40. Hit me up on there, or hit up 740 Barbell on Instagram also. That is just the words 740 Barbell up on Instagram. Shoot us a message, man. If you have any questions, I'd absolutely love to help. Yeah, man. Love y'all. Thank y'all for supporting and watching. You know, we getting our little views up. I really appreciate it. This thing is, you know, it's a grind. Absolutely love it. Me and Dov love it, man. I love doing it with my big homie, the OG, triple OG, Big Unk, Dov, Key Dov, right? But man, we appreciate everything y'all do and everything, and all the support and everything. So we got a couple meets coming up. Appreciate the support in that. And then don't forget, we still have the hoodie giveaway. So we're still going to be doing that. So, all right, man. Love y'all. Have a good night. This is Push and Weight Show.
And of course the courage in these veins, people passing the limits, a bunch of beasts broke off the chain. From the folks, see them growing and reaching up to pass our peak though. Welcome to the Push and Weight Show.